Hampton Environmental Coalition, and we'd like to welcome you to the third biennial press conference that we hold every election season to bring attention to the interests of our member groups of environmental issues with respect to coverage in the coming campaign. We have about 17 groups that are our members, and they are comprised of mostly local, some regional, and one state level organization. And they probably have as many as 6,000 cumulative members who participate in their activities. Now, each of these organizations has a particular concern that they pursue as part of their mandate, but what they share in common is a tremendous commitment to the East End environment. And as we all commonly know and believe and cherish, the East End is certainly one of the most preserved and marvelous of environments that we could possibly hope to live in. And it has become the obligation of those of us who live here to do everything we can to protect it. One of the ways that we do that, of course, is just by summoning our democratic sense and working together. But the way we achieve it is through the leadership that has been provided over the years in our town. And I would have to say that historically our town has had a level of environmental sensitivity in our leadership that is essentially without peer in our town and our region. There have been moments of reversal, but for the most part, wisdom has prevailed in the exercise of protection of the environment. And out of that, we're very proud. On the other hand, we're also very defensive. And so each year that there is an election, we gather to do what we can to be sure that everyone remembers that the environment is what makes this place great. And we want to keep the candidates and the electorate in particular very much aware of the issues that concern all of these groups. Every one of them has a particular interest that they pursue. So we want to be able to inform the electorate. We want to be able to tell them who is taking what position, and we will do that by a number of vehicles, and I'll talk about that later. But for now, I'd like a couple of our members to say a word or two about their organizations. First, Marcia Bistrin of the New York League of Conservation Education Fund.
Yes, I'm absolutely delighted to be here with this group. I'm the president of the New York League of Conservation Voters Education Fund, which is a statewide group that works to empower communities to be effective advocates on behalf of the environment. Here on Long Island, we're active in a number of places, but it is a distinct pleasure working with the groups out here in East Hampton who have a long history of being effective advocates for the environment, and this is simply a continuation of a long tradition here. With that, I think it'd be useful to hear from local partners about what their priorities are. Jeremy, why don't you kick it off?
Sure. So thank you for being here. My name is Jeremy Samisen. I serve as the Executive Director of Concerned Citizens of Montauk. The EHEC, when we first got together, realized that we were more powerful if we were all rowing in the same direction. And when we appreciated that we all have the same interest, which is getting candidates informed, getting the public informed, and letting people make decisions based on the information that we help deliver, we realized that if we could bring together more than a dozen organizations that shared a passion for the environment, the odds of having our community pursue those environmental policies would go up exponentially. So, as Jim indicated, each of the last two election cycles, we put together a green guide, which we're happy to share copies of with you today, and we've done a candidate questionnaire that goes out, asks people what their feelings are on specific environmental issues, and then puts all that information out there in an unedited fashion for the public. And that'll be available online. Jim can share some details with you. This year we're adding a candidate forum. You can get some details of that. I think it's 2 to 4 next Saturday at the Amagansett Free Library. We would encourage all members of the public to come on down. From my organization's perspective, there are 3 critical issues that we're most interested in right now. The first one is coastal policy. Obviously, we all know that the world is changing around us. Against the backdrop of events like Hurricane Sandy, we know that the way we've done things up until now can't be the way that we continue to do things going forward. We have to take a hard look at our community, ask what infrastructure is in the wrong place, come up with good policies and incentive programs that get our community realigned in our relationship to the coastline, so that the next time we're faced with a catastrophic event like that, we know that we will weather that storm in a more resilient manner. This takes a lot of work. We've been creeping up on getting the town of East Hampton to formally launch a coastal planning effort that is going to commence this winter. It's a major initiative, and we need everybody in the community, from elected officials to voters to local business owners, to be aware of this process and participate fully. The second area where we're most intently focused is on water quality. I think anyone who has turned on the news or read a newspaper in the last 18 or 24 months has to know that we have a water quality crisis in this community. We have public bathing beaches that have been closed where people can no longer go swimming. We have areas like Fort Pond, which, because of harmful algal blooms, you can't even let your dog go in the water at this point. That is not us as a community. We have to do better. We have to pull out all the stops, get everybody aligned on what the solutions are, and find a way to move forward. So efforts like EHEC, where we put these issues on the table, we talk collaboratively about what the solutions are, and also importantly, where we come up with funding mechanisms that are actually able to deliver these solutions to the community. That's the conversation we need to have. So I hope, in looking at the Green Guide today, I hope you will find issues that resonate with you as a community member, but also you'll identify issues that people should be asking about when they attend candidate forums, when they go into the voting booth, when they pull the lever for somebody who has identified for the public what their positions are on given issues. So I'll thank you for your time and turn it over to my colleague.
Hi, thanks, Jeremy. That covers so many things that we're all so very interested in, and that are so, pardon me? I forgot to say. That we're all very concerned about. One of them is aircraft noise pollution and gas emissions that also affect our environment, which my group, the Quiet Skies Coalition, advocates for minimizing disturbances thereof. My name's Kathleen Cunningham. I'm the chairperson of that organization, and we are a local citizens advocacy group that has representatives from all over the East End. Our primary concern are the health impacts, the negative health impacts from aircraft noise disturbances that have been studied and evaluated. There are issues regarding children being able to learn under aircraft noise paths. There's a diminished capability of children to learn. Apart from the health impacts, sometimes some cardiac issues and other health impacts in terms of psychological well-being. People feel that they're under attack when they're under these flight paths. So we're working very hard to make sure that the issue is taken seriously by all candidates that are running for office all over the East End, but primarily here in East Hampton, as East Hampton is the proprietor of the airport and has the ability to make decisions that have an impact on the health and welfare of all East End residents. So we're hopeful that the Green Guide and the various forms that will be coming up will provide the voting public with the information they need to make choices that will support their better interests in terms of their health, welfare, and the well-being of our community. Thank you.
I'm Susan Harder. I'm the New York State representative of the International Dark Sky Association. It's a nonprofit educational organization with chapters in 70 countries. There is broad support in this town for the problems caused by light pollution. Bright glare from unshielded light sources debilitates drivers and pedestrians. Excessive and unnecessary lighting contributes to global warming from electricity generated by burning coal and oil. Misdirected lighting crosses property lines, creating a nuisance. Light emitted above the fixture hits particulate and moisture, obscuring the star-filled night sky, a natural resource. As well, flora and fauna are impacted by night lighting when their habitats are disrupted. We do have new technologies for night lighting that are available, including newly designed fixtures and switches which achieve a return on investment when implemented. We can abate light pollution through education, example, enforcement, and regulations. We advocate an update to the current outdoor lighting code to meet professional standards for new commercial construction, for the town-owned lighting and streetlights, and to enhance enforcement of existing regulations.
Do you have a few words you'd like to say?
I do. I'm Kevin Mccallister. I'm the founder and executive of Defend H2O. My group is based in Sag Harbor and dedicated to water resources, both from the water quality perspective as well as life support. An issue that I've been working on for a number of years, and certainly germane to the towns, is nitrogen pollution from our wastewater systems. Suffolk County Department of Health Services, they are the regulatory authority addressing wastewater, and quite frankly, the science is in. Wastewater is the principal problem to our waters. The regulations that the county administers are absolutely deficient. They're not doing enough to protect ecological health of our waters. I strongly urge the towns to adopt their own local laws that is granted by state statute and supported by case law. Towns have this authority. We need to start moving in the direction of requiring advanced treatment systems that effectively denitrify. And I'll ask a rhetorical question. When you drive up and down these neighborhoods and you see new homes in place that are spending $20,000 on Belgian block driveways, and yet we're putting an archaic septic system in the ground that does very little for denitrification, something's wrong there. So I think that's very important that our elected candidates really pick up this issue and start to address it. And I will say, relative to East Hampton Town, we're not talking about it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm also the chair of the Northwest Alliance, which is a group that looks out after the Northwest Creek, Northwest Harbor area. Our organization was started in 1981 by Tom and Kathy Lester and others for the purpose of creating that preserved area. And indeed, they managed to wangle millions of dollars to be invested in preserving the second largest natural area in town. And we're, of course, terrifically pleased with it. And that organization probably would have folded if it hadn't been for what happened next, which is that things went terribly wrong. In the 90s, we had the brown tide, which was presumably a result of convergence of nitrification of the water, failure of tidal flush, and rising coastal water levels. In any case, we have been plagued by that for some time, and frankly we haven't had so much of a recurrence of the brown tide as a continuation of its effects, namely the loss of the eelgrass beds that made that area the most fertile shell fishing area in the entire town. No more. The eelgrass is entirely gone. Another thing that has complicated things is the difficulty that one has in accomplishing proper dredging to preserve the estuary in its most functional condition. We've encountered over the years numerous impediments to getting that simple routine function discharged. There's confusions of responsibility as far as paying for it and discharging the duty. So that's another ongoing struggle. And then one that has an entirely different feel is that the spit that it separates Northwest Harbor and Northwest Creek has for many years been a nesting area for endangered species, piping plover, least terns. 15 years ago we had 10 to 12 to 15 breeding pairs there. But then came the helicopters. The route was assigned, that part of that trajectory from the airport out was assigned as a helicopter route because so few people lived there. So what do you do when you have a source of pollution to discharge? You put it in your natural preserves. Sure, that's what was actually done, and that continues to this day. The result is that last year there were no more piping plovers. Now when I say the result, I'm drawing an inference. I have no scientific proof of that, but I can tell you that if you study the natural history of the plover, you'll see that they are very, very vulnerable to aerial predation. They cannot enjoy these helicopters going over, and in fact, plovers have increased in frequency everywhere else in the area. So we have there at Northwest Creek, an absolutely gorgeous area. I recommend you take an afternoon drive there somewhere. You will not find a more beautiful spot in all of East Hampton. On the other hand, look deeper and you'll see that there are serious problems, and we are continuing to fight those problems. Going forward, the East Hampton Environmental Coalition has planned a number of events. Jeremy summarized some of them. I'll go over them again. The first is that we have prepared what we call our Green Guide, and the New York League of Conservation Voters Environmental Fund has taken the lead on this, and it's a very succinct and thorough summary of some of the major issues that confront us at this time. That is available on their website, and will be available for distribution elsewhere over the coming month. The next thing that's going to happen is that we have circulated to the candidates for office and the town board and for trust and the supervisor position a questionnaire of some 15 items that address critical environmental issues at this particular time. And the candidates have all provided their best answers to those questions. So it's an opportunity to see and read what their thoughts are on some of these very, very difficult issues. They're not simple things. They require a good deal of homework and thought. We expect that the final form of the answers to those questionnaires will be available again on the New York League of Conservation Voters website by the end of the week. And at the end of the week, we are going to stage our first forum, which is going to be a candidates forum. It's going to be on Saturday, the 26th, at the Amagansett Free Library. It's going to run from 2 to 4, and the first half of it will be the Democratic slate, and the second half will be the Republican slate, and they will not be debating. This will be a forum in the sense that they will make brief statements about their positions, and then they will respond to questions. And the questions will come from the moderator, and they will come from the audience. So I invite the public to take this opportunity to, perhaps one of the rare opportunities, to actually question the candidates on issues of concern to you, particularly if they're about the environment. So I hope to see you all then, and we thank you very much for paying attention to our little offering today. And am I missing anything?
Yes, did you want to read off the members of our group,
Well, I could do that.
since we're missing some?
Yes.
The members of the group are, in alphabetical order, the that's easy to say.
Academic.
Not an Indian. Aquaponic Protection Committee, Amagansett Springs Aquifer Protection, Citizens Climate Lobby, Concerned Citizens of Montauk, Dark Sky Society, Defend H2O, Ditch Plains Association, East End Climate Action Network, Garden Club of East Hampton, Group of East End, Long Island Business for Responsible Energy, Long Island Clean Water Partnership, Long Island Environmental Community Steering Committee, New York League of Conservation Voters Education Fund, the Northwest Alliance, Quiet Skies Coalition, the South Fork Natural History Association, Surf Riders Foundation, and the Third House Nature Center. And there are a couple of others actually that didn't make time when this went to press.
Fantastic.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Nice job.